In the evening, the enemy struck a civilian enterprise in the Pososhin community with a missile. This is in the Kharkiv region. 2 men were wounded, one of whom is in serious condition. The death toll in Mykolaiv, Odesa region has risen to 2. 3 more people were wounded. The Russians hit a truck with a tanker that contained oil residue. As a result of the strike, the truck and a passenger car caught fire. As of now, it is known that a 44-year-old woman sustained blast injuries and burns to her face, torso, and limbs. She has been hospitalized. Rescuers also discovered the severely burned body of a man at the scene. His identity is still being established. Since this morning, Russian drones have been hunting civilians in Kherson. Pedestrians and passenger cars are being targeted. A minibus was attacked in the city center. 9 people have already been wounded. And overnight, the occupiers shelled critical infrastructure. There have been interruptions in electricity and water supply. And overnight, the Russians attacked the Mykolaiv region. In the regional center, a two-story house was significantly damaged. A 75-year-old woman suffered an acute stress reaction. In Snehirivka, ammunition hit the courtyard of a 5-story building. In other settlements, dry grass and reeds caught fire due to falling ammunition and debris. Rescuer Alexei Stolyarenko died in Sumy due to Russian drone strikes. He was pinned by a concrete slab while extinguishing the fire. Another man died in a car when the enemy dropped aerial bombs on the city. A large-scale fire broke out as a result of the explosions. It has already been extinguished. 3 more cabs guided aerial bombs fell in the private residential sector. About 20 homes were destroyed or damaged. There were people in many of the houses during the strikes, but they miraculously survived.
We were at home. It all happened so unexpectedly. We didn't even have time to look around, and it was all flying right at us. And, well, it was like 20 meters away from us.
How'd you survive?
Who knows? God must have saved us.
And tomorrow is a day of mourning in Zaporizhzhia. The city endured a massive nighttime attack. The heaviest damage is at Zaporizhzhia. A ballistic strike claimed the lives of 7 company employees. 21 people were wounded and 3 more were injured by other enemy strikes. The Russians launched North Korean ballistic missiles, Zircons, and aerial bombs at the city. TSN correspondent Daria Nazarova has been working at the shelling site since the night. We have her on the line. Hey, Daria. So what is the aftermath of the shelling? What is the condition of the wounded? What is known as of now?
Hello, Sviatosland. The night was truly hellish. Like other Zaporizhzhia residents, I woke up to powerful explosions that rang out one after another. The glow from the fires illuminated the entire city center. By morning, regional authorities reported the Russians launched 12 missiles and 4 aerial bombs at the city. The most significant damage is at Zaporizhzhia. The ballistic strike caught employees on their way to the shelter, the company's press service says. 6 people died on the spot, and another one, despite all the medics' efforts, passed away in the hospital. There are also 21 wounded among the employees. 3 more people were injured in the city from other enemy strikes.
This night was one of the most difficult for Zaporizhzhia in the last few years. It was truly a massive attack, accompanied by ballistic missiles, simultaneously with guided aerial bombs, and simultaneously with Molnia drones. And we saw all of this happening in a single attack. For the most part, the territory of industrial enterprises, warehouse facilities, as well as houses and the railway station were affected. This is what was hit by the enemy today. Unfortunately, we have fatalities, we have wounded. The day of mourning has been declared in the city of Zaporizhzhia for tomorrow.
Also, the Russians struck near the garages with North Korean ballistic missiles. When we arrived there at 7 in the morning, the owners of the burned-out cars and smashed garages were sorting through the scrap metal in the hope of saving at least something.
Both the car and the trailer. There was a new kitchen stand in there and spare parts. God, spare parts from other cars. There was a Zaporizhzhia that's there for my dad, but it was like a brand new collector's item with absolutely no mileage.
A high-rise building, the Baikal swimming pool, and non-residential premises were also damaged. Once again, the Russians have destroyed people's businesses. Alexei, the owner of a cafe and bakery, says, after tonight, the building and equipment are smashed.
Looked at the camera. It's working. So there's internet. I see there's power. a bit of scattered glass. God knows what this is. But when I arrived around 5 in the morning, I realized that it wasn't that simple. And I'm afraid that the equipment definitely won't be working today. And honestly, I don't know if we'll be able to open or not.
It is also known that as a result of the night strikes, one of Metinvest Enterprises has suspended operations, while other production sites are operating at reduced capacity. Regarding the injured, as TSN reported, 20 people have been hospitalized, 2 of whom are in serious condition. And at the sites of the night attacks, city services are still working to clear the aftermath. That is all that is known at this time. Sviatoslav.
Thank you for keeping track of this. Daria Nazarova from Zaporizhzhia, a TSN correspondent, reported on the city that was hit overnight by zircons, cabs, and North Korean ballistic missiles. We already know about 7 people killed as a result of this attack.
The occupiers are trying to increase pressure on several fronts at once. On the Pokrovsk front, they advanced near the occupied village of Kherson. It was surrounded by a gray zone on several sides, according to deep state analysts, and the village itself is destroyed. So it was very difficult for the Ukrainian military to hold the area. In total, over the past day, our defenders stopped 25 attacks there. Meanwhile, on the Oleksandrivka sector, Ukrainian fighters liberated nearly 27 square kilometers of territory and also cleared Kostiantinovka of reconnaissance groups. Near Chasiv Yar, the enemy is gathering infantry for assault operations. Currently, the aggressors trying to hide in basements and ruins. Fighters from the 24th Separate Mechanized Brigade showed how they deal with the shelters where enemy infantries hold up, as well as with military equipment. Overall, even despite their losses, the Russians are not stopping their assaults. Over the past day, there have been more than 200 combat engagements on the front line. And the Russian occupiers are increasing pressure on Dobropilya. Since the beginning of August, this sector of the Donetsk region has already seen mechanized attacks, constant attempts by enemy infantry groups to break through, and at the same time, a parallel battle is raging in the sky around the clock. There are plenty of enemies there too, but their capabilities also have their limits, assure the soldiers of the 20th Operational Assignment Brigade of the National Guard. TSN correspondent Oleksandr Matorny's film crew spent a shift with the Lubard interceptor crew in the Dobropilya direction.
There are a lot of FPV drones right now. Where the guys were stationed, the FPV drone activity was insane. Getting in there was, well, very difficult.
Getting into that area, in the direction of Dobropilya in the Donetsk region, is a whole ordeal these days.
On the line. I'm in the hole. Unclear. Cover.
Copy that. Taking cover.
Meanwhile, in the shattered villages around Dobropilya, and in the city itself, National Guard soldiers say there are still quite a few civilians.
There are young people here. Shops are open.
Drones are flying around, but the people...
Well, there's life here. You know, people are here. They're all living.
And in Dobropilya?
We were in Dobropilya. Did you see people there? We did. A little, yeah. Well, not many, but there are some. And even then, well, mostly older people.
But Dobropilya is completely trashed.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Drones are constant, artillery happens, and Russian aerial bombs are regular. The further it goes, the more they turn the towns and villages near the front line in northwestern Donetsk into total ruins.
Guided bombs are flying.
Not in our direction. They were flying our way, but then they turned away.
And how common is this phenomenon in general, like guided bombs at night?
At night? Yeah, often. They somehow fly in the evening and in the morning, as far as I understand. If they burn something, they might just pour it all on it.
Guided bombs hit near Dobropilya, Bilozerske, and Bilahiria.
I'm curious, are there actually a large number of these guided bombs being used, or is it just a limited amount?
At times, yes. Well, one time we counted 12 or 11 launches in 2 hours. That's, on average, 3 or 4 guided bombs each.
Russian guided bombs, a weapon that's called not very accurate, but it happens, says Positive, that enemy bombs land right next to each other.
I've already seen a few times that they hit the same spot with 3 guided bombs. Exactly. Well, the radius of those 3 guided bombs is 20, maybe 50 meters. Well, they land within 50 meters of each other.
Intercepting Russian aerial bombs, at least for now, is almost impossible. An effective algorithm simply does not exist. However, the warriors of Lubart assure us that they are fully capable of making the sky freer from enemy drone threats. This is exactly what Soroka does every night.
4548. Someone reach that cab.
Our task isn't to repel assaults, but to cover the sky.
They're interceptors from the 20th Operational Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine.
There used to be 20, 30 lightning alerts per shift, meaning per day or per night. Now it's 5, 10, sometimes 1 or 2. They have significantly reduced their drones. Right now, lightning alerts fly a bit more during the day, but at night, it's really very few.
24/7. The Leopard anti-aircraft drone crews are busy tracking, pursuing, and trying to destroy every Russian reconnaissance or strike drone in the sky. What is the most frequent enemy in this sector right now?
Probably FPVs. The Monias have backed off a bit now, but there are more FPVs.
The result of their battle against enemy drones in the sky, believes Positive, a pilot of the 20th's anti-aircraft drones, largely determines the daily course of events on the ground.
If they found a lot of spots, pilots, artillery, and so on, they work on all of that, so the pilots can't cover their own guys. They shoot down their antennas, so the FPVs can't work on their infantry, and the artillery too, same thing. So they destroy it little by little, and then they start the offensive.
Back in August, the Russians tried to break through the Ukrainian defensive line in the northeastern part of the Dobropilya sector with the help of tanks and armored vehicles.
Boston, buddy. Get the burb app. Boston, copy.
A separate topic is the enemy Shahads. From the occupied part of the Donetsk region, Rashist heavy strike wings try to pass north to the Ukrainian rear, right over their heads, says the Leopard pilot. It felt like, honestly, that they were flying in an echelon like that. Like if you, right?
They were shooting them down very heavily here, really very heavily. Shooting them down. 70, 80 Shaheds, maybe 10 of them would make it out, meaning they were really getting smashed here.
They started intercepting enemy drones in January of this year. Since then, the number of destroyed Moscow aircraft by the Lubert crew alone has crossed the threshold of 1,500 threats. But the enemy, admits Positive, doesn't seem ready to retreat yet. On this sector, is Dobropilya the main target for the enemy?
Right now, yes. They first wiped all the villages leading up to it to the ground, and now they're wiping out Dobropilya.
The warriors of Lubart have no plans to yield to the enemy in the skies over the northwestern part of the Donetsk region.
Visually 3220.
Target destroyed. The confrontation in the Dobropilya sector continues. Reporting from there, from the Donetsk region, are Oleksandr Matorny, Alexander Shuyan, and Vitaly Ovsyannikov. TSN 1+1. United News Marathon.
Putin will not enter into negotiations as long as he can strike Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities with ballistic missiles with impunity. The Institute for the Study of War states that the Russian dictator is taking advantage of the acute shortage of missiles for Patriot systems. This air defense system is the only means capable of shooting down the occupier's ballistic missiles. But for now, Ukraine lacks the ammunition for them. The Kremlin is aware of this vulnerability and therefore has deliberately reoriented its defense production specifically toward the manufacturing of ballistic missiles. They want to exploit the shortage to break the Ukrainians' will to resist and at the same time avoid the need to enter into negotiations or make concessions on their demands. Russia is playing a war of attrition, and Putin is convincing himself that he is capable of winning it if his troops keep pressing on the front lines and missiles keep destroying Ukrainian cities, all against the backdrop of an approaching difficult winter. The Institute for the Study of War, in particular, cites the words of Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Galuzin. On August 9th, he stated that Moscow opposes freezing the war and demands Ukraine's capitulation. The State Bureau of Investigation is investigating the crash of a MiG-29 fighter jet in the Odesa region, which occurred the previous evening. A criminal proceeding has been opened based on the violation of flight rules or aircraft operation that caused the crash. According to preliminary information, the fighter jet was carrying out a combat mission to destroy enemy drones. During the operation, an emergency situation occurred and the aircraft caught fire. The pilot lost control. He managed to eject. Investigators from the State Bureau of Investigation worked all night at the crash site in the Berezivka district. They are collecting debris, interviewing witnesses and military personnel, and searching for the flight recorder. the so-called black box, which may help determine exactly what happened to the MiG before it crashed. The Defense Forces of Ukraine struck a wild berry logistics hub in Voronezh. The attack on the facility was carried out using FP-1 drones. This was reported by the Ukrainian defense company Firepoint. A large-scale fire broke out at the site, and by morning, the warehouse had completely burned down. The Voronezh Wildberries logistics complex is one of the company's largest facilities in the region. Its area is more than 150,000 square meters. Up to 2 million items pass through this hub every day. Ukrainian drones also reached the Russian city of Orsk tonight. This is the Orenburg region, located approximately 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine. There, as a result of the drone attack and a series of explosions, a local oil refinery caught fire. After the strikes on the refinery, a gasoline panic began in Orsk. People are filming kilometer-long lines for fuel at gas stations. The Orsk machine building plant, which produces, among other things, parts for ammunition and rockets, was also reportedly hit, and the Komsomolsk oil refinery is also on fire. This is already in the Khabarovsk territory, which means 6,500 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. But there is no word on the cause yet. The enterprise belongs to the Rosneft company. At the same time, more than 200 drones were also headed for Moscow tonight. 13 UAVs, according to the local mayor's office, were allegedly shot down on the approach to the capital, and the rest were intercepted on the distant approaches to the city.